Hello and welcome to Standard Voice Television Global News. Today, 1st May 2026, equivalent Islamic calendar, 14th Zulqa'dah, 1447, after the Hijrah of the Noble Prophet. In the headlines, President Tinubu says Nigeria now high destination for investment despite challenges. University staff commences indefinite nationwide strike today over pay rise. Troops kill over 200 terrorists and arrest many suspects in April operations nationwide. And on the international scene, Pentagon official Jules Hurst confirms U.S. war in Iran cost $25 billion. And on sport update, CAF expresses support for Gianni Infantino's re-election bid for FIFA leadership. Details of these and more will be coming to you in the news bulletin. I am Sumaya Mustafa. Stand by. The federal government says Nigeria has become a very high destination for investment despite the many challenges confronting the nation. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made this assertion at the State House during a meeting with the delegation of the Civil Society Organization on Community Advancement and Humanitarian Empowerment Initiative. He added that the economy has picked up and attracted unprecedented investment of billions of dollars in the hydrocarbon sector. The president also applauded the civil society group for the caliber of individuals involved in its programs. On his part, the Director General of the initiative, Kulle Yusuf, pledged the organization's commitment to complement government's efforts to ensure that citizens appreciate government developmental efforts. Moving on, Nigerian workers today joined their counterparts across the globe to commemorate the May Day under a cloud of frustration and economic strain as rising insecurity, deepening poverty, and persistent inflation continue to erode the value of labor and the dignity of work. Wages are being stretched thin by soaring food prices, transport costs, and energy expenses, while fears over personal safety and job security weigh heavily on daily life. President of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, Joe Ajero, on the day decried the high level of insecurity, poverty, hardship, inflation, and the devaluation of the national currency, which he said had inflicted pain and misery on citizens. He, however, warned that unless insecurity and poverty are urgently addressed, the nation will continue to struggle with rising unemployment and the collapse of decent jobs. About 90% of jobs in Nigeria are in the informal sector, where workers lack security, pensions, and decent conditions. Still in the news, Nigeria joins the globe to commemorate 2026 Worker Day. The annual celebration, also known globally as May Day, is being observed across the country with various activities highlighting the importance of labor in economic growth. Standard Voice Television correspondent Charity Taylor has the report.
Workers' Day serves as a significant occasion to honor the resilience and commitment of workforce, while drawing attention to the need for improved welfare, fair wages, and safe working conditions. Across Nigeria, organized labor groups have canvassed for workers' rights and addressed prevailing economic challenges affecting their members. Some respondents in Kaduna aired their views on the celebration.
It's a good thing. I will not say it's a bad thing for government to give one day for workers. At least it's the workers that are working. They should be celebrated. So it's very necessary.
It's important for workers to have a day of celebration in the country.
They also lamented over workers' welfare and ways the government can help in improving the living standard of workers.
It is very, very important for the government to give a worker a day to celebrate their the sacrifices they make for Nigeria. But in other hands, the government is not doing well to the citizens of Nigeria, especially the workers, because what they are giving them as a take-home is just very, very little.
What government needs to put in place to make the work easier and bearable for workers is that they should provide necessary equipment. They should provide comfortable environment. They should provide necessary materials for workers to work with.
Internationally, Workers' Day is celebrated in over 80 countries and traces its origin to the Haymarket affairs in Chicago, United States, where workers protested for an 8-hour workday. In Nigeria, the observance of Workers' Day dates back to 1981, and it continues to serve as a reminder of the vital role workers play in nations building. As the country joins the rest of the world in marking the day, stakeholders are urged to reaffirm their commitment to policies that enhance productivity, safeguard workers' rights, and foster inclusive economic growth. The federal government had declared Friday, May 1st, 2026, a public holiday to mark this year's International Workers' Day in recognition of the dedication and contributions of Nigerian workers to national development. Charity Taylor reporting for Standard Voice Television.
Moving on, the Supreme Court has set aside a controversial status quo antebellum order made in the protracted leadership crisis rocking the African Democratic Congress ADC, holding that the preservative order could not validly subsist after proceedings had been concluded. In a lead verdict delivered by Justice Mohammed Garba, the Apex Court held that although courts possess inherent powers to make preservative orders to protect the subject matter of litigation, such orders cannot survive once proceedings have been fully, conclusively, and finally concluded. The court subsequently allowed the appeal and nullified the order sustaining the status quo antebellum in the dispute involving rival factions of the ADC leadership. Justice Garba in the judgment explained that the trial court's directive maintaining the status quo antebellum was essentially a preservative order intended to prevent parties from taking steps on the court while proceedings were ongoing. The justice, however, held that such powers must be exercised only in relation to live proceedings. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, says the Supreme Court has resolved the lingering leadership dispute within the People's Democratic Party (PDP), insisting that the party remains united. Wike, while addressing reports at his residence in Abuja, dismissed claims of division, maintaining that the court's decision has brought clarity to the situation. The Apex Court, in a split 3-2 decision, nullified the party's national convention held in Ibadan on November 15 and 16, 2025, which produced a leadership backed by Governor Seyi Makinde. In its majority judgment, the court ruled that the convention violated existing court orders that required the party to meet certain conditions before proceeding. The verdict also faulted the PDP for going ahead with the exercises by those directives. The minister also spoke on the situation within the African Democratic Congress ADC, noting that its internal crisis remains unresolved following the court's directive. Moving on, the presidency and a leading presidential aspirant on the platform of the opposition African Democratic Congress ADC, Peter Obi, clashed over federal government's huge borrowings. This is coming after President Bola Ahmed Tinubu defended the administration's borrowing profile, stating that borrowing is not leprosy. Obi, while reacting on his X handle, described Tinubu's borrowing is not only leprosy but a killer cancer when it is borrowed for consumption and not production as it is in Nigeria today. The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party LP said one of the major leprosy afflicting Nigeria today is not just debt, but debt without productivity. He also argued that no serious economy borrows recklessly, stressing that nations borrow with discipline, purpose, and a clear plan for repayment through productive investment. Then in the news, the Joint Action Committee, JAC, of the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions, NASU, and the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, SANU, has confirmed the commencement of a nationwide strike today, Friday. The unions conveyed their resolution in a letter addressed to the Minister of Education, Tunji Alosa, citing the federal government's failure to conclude ongoing renegotiations and present a fresh offer on allowances. NASU General Secretary Peters Adeyemi and SANU President Mohammed Ibrahim in a letter said the strike commences today, Friday, May 1st, 2026. The unions added that no alternative proposal had been made to replace the withdrawn allowance, noting that members had mandated the leadership to act if the government failed to conclude negotiations by April 30. They said the industrial action became inevitable following what they described as the government's inability to avert the crisis through meaningful engagement. The news is coming to you on Standard Voice Television Global News. Still to come in the news. Troops kill over 200 terrorists and arrest many suspects in April operations nationwide. On the international scene, Pentagon official Jules Hurst confirms U.S. war in Iran cost $25 billion. And on sport updates, CAF expresses support for Gianni Infantino's re-election bid for FIFA leadership. Details of these and more will be coming to you after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back from that short break, and now the news continues. Nigeria's troops have recorded major successes in ongoing operations across the country in April 2026, killing 216 terrorists and arresting 284 suspects, including key ringleaders. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, made this known while briefing journalists in Abuja on the military's monthly operational activities, adding that about 188 kidnapped victims were also rescued. He said troops also recovered a large cache of arms and ammunition during the period, while dismantling several terrorist camps and criminal hideouts. Onoja explained that troops also stormed and destroyed terrorist camps, EID-laden hideouts, and illegal arms production facilities, while arresting 284 key ringleaders, logisticians, and collaborators. The media officer said in the northeast, troops killed 136 terrorists, arrested 144 suspects, and rescued 18 victims, while 9 insurgents surrendered. Then in the news, the federal government has launched a new smart, durable, and economically impactful infrastructure with the approval of a 150 billion naira extension of the Bodo-Boni Road project in Rivers State under a public-private partnership arrangement. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, made this known during a meeting with the management of Nigeria LNG Limited, saying the project reflects a shift from conventional road construction to long-lasting, technology-driven infrastructure. According to a statement issued by the ministry's Director of Information and Public Relations, Mohammed Ahmed, the project has received presidential approval and will soon be presented to the Federal Executive Council for ratification. Umahi explained that the extension of the Bodo to Boni Road would be executed using reinforced concrete technology designed to last between 50 and 100 years, significantly reducing maintenance costs. He stressed that the government is committed to transparency, noting that the project would undergo formal approval by the Federal Executive Council, FEC. Moving on, over 100 channels have officially signed up to broadcast free-to-air digital content, marking a significant milestone in the country's long-delayed digital switchover DSO program. The official sign-on came after the National Broadcasting Commission (NBC's) recent disclosure that it had unveiled a significant overhaul of Nigeria's long-awaited digital broadcasting migration, launching a free TV, a fully free-to-air direct-to-home (DTH) national platform backed by satellite and internet protocol IP delivery. The NBC in a statement said the current lineup, which it officially categorized, features a diverse range of programs aimed at Nigerian families. Also, Liberty TV channel, the #1 indigenous Hausa news, finally signed up to broadcast free to current affairs, and politics platform is among the 100 channels to have fair digital content, marking a significant milestone in Nigeria's long-delayed digital switchover DSO program. Journalists are entering a new era of accountability, one in which they must not only use artificial intelligence (AI) responsibly, but also clearly explain how it works. This is as the technology continues to reshape news production, content creation, and audience engagement. This critical issue will be explored in depth during the upcoming webinar, AI and Broadcast Compliance: What Players Must Know About Emerging Regulations, coming soon. The rapid integration of AI into editorial workflows, ranging from automated news generation to algorithmic content recommendation, has raised urgent questions about transparency, fairness, and editorial accountability. It was gathered that regulators worldwide are now responding with frameworks that place explainability at the core of AI governance, particularly in politically sensitive and news-related contexts. The federal government has expressed worries over the growing threat of misinformation and disinformation, urging Nigerians to strengthen media literacy as a safeguard against false narratives in the digital age. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, gave the warning at the close of a 2-day event marking the unveiling of the International Media and Information Literacy Institute at the National Open University of Nigeria in Abuja. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had inaugurated the institute at the presidential villa, positioning Nigeria at the forefront of global efforts to combat misinformation and promote responsible communication. Idris said the ability to critically assess and verify information has become indispensable in a rapidly evolving technological landscape driven by artificial intelligence. The minister also stressed that media literacy is no longer optional and warned that the consequences of misinformation extend beyond theory, with real implications for governance, peace, and social cohesion. And on the international scene, a senior Pentagon official, Jules Hurst, says Iran war has cost the United States $25 billion, providing the first official estimate of the military's price tag for the conflict. Hurst, who is performing the duties of the comptroller, told lawmakers on the House Armed Services Committee that most of that money was for weaponries. However, the U.S. official did not detail what that cost estimate included and whether it took into account the projected cost of rebuilding and repairing base infrastructure in the Middle East damaged in the conflict. Earlier in March, President Donald Trump's administration estimated that the first 6 days of the war had cost the United States at least $11.3 billion. Also, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told lawmakers that the cost was justified given the U.S. goal of ensuring Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And lastly, on sport updates, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has expressed support for FIFA President Gianni Infantino's bid for a fourth term as head of football's global governing body. CAF, in a statement following a meeting ahead of the FIFA Congress in Vancouver, said it had unanimously agreed to support Infantino when the FIFA chief stands for re-election in 2027. Infantino took over as head of FIFA in 2016 in the wake of the corruption scandal that led to the downfall of predecessor Sepp Blatter. He was subsequently re-elected to the post in 2019 and 2023. Although FIFA statute limits FIFA president to 3 terms in office, Infantino is allowed to run for re-election next year after the body ruled that his first partial team from 2016 to 2019 following Blatter's ouster did not count towards the total. CAF's decision to support Infantino comes after South American football's governing body, CONMEBOL, also pledged to support the Swiss-Italian official earlier in April. Finally on the news, here's a recap of the top stories again. President Tinubu says Nigeria now high destination for investment despite challenges. University staff commences indefinite nationwide strike today over pay rise. Troops kill over 200 terrorists and arrest many suspects in April operations nationwide. And on the international scene, Pentagon official Jules Hurst confirms U.S. war in Iran cost $25 billion. And on sport update, CAF expresses support for Gianni Infantino's re-election bid for FIFA leadership. On behalf of the news editor Ilya Adamu Auta and the production crew, I am Sumaya Mustafa, thanking you and bye for now.